All right, everyone. Hey, I am live here. I'm waiting for Thrashpondo to get on here with me. He was on a minute ago, but his video froze. And so he signed out and he's going to be signing back in. And so we are going to go ahead and start with that. I want to thank everyone for joining me today on today's live stream program where we're going to be talking about some one of my favorite subjects, part twos and spin-offs. First, before we get into that, I got a couple of announcements I want to make and say hi to the few people who are here. First of all, let me say John Collins. Hi, John Collins. How are you doing? And you have the question about the Back to the Future 2, or you had a point you made, which was a really good point. And Tracy Rothmeyer. Hey, Tracy, how you doing? I am interested in if you were able to look up Huntington Beach or Lifesavers Huntington Beach and what you thought of it. And if you haven't, don't worry about it. I understand that kind of thing happens, but believe me, I think you'd really like it, especially as much as you are into music. Let me just say, first of all, that I got to make an apology really quickly up front because I let down my cornflake club. Now, I don't have like a lot of members in the cornflake club, but any member that I do have is very important to me. And that is everybody who is in the cornflake club is supposed to get get to watch a video early. And I hit the wrong button when I shared my video today. I was supposed to make it unlisted and I hit public and I didn't know I hit public. And so I shared it over on the Cornflake Club on Patreon. And then I went over and looked at the comments that were coming in. I'm like, why are comments coming in? I'm sure I listed it as unlisted, as unlisted. So you have to have the link. And I looked and the cat was already out of the bag and I had like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 comments. So I apologize. I promise from now on, I will make sure that I hit that button correctly, because people who are part of the Cornflake Club get get everything early, at least one day in advance. And that's my guarantee. And I let you down. So I apologize about that terribly. Today, we are going to, driven by you guys, today we are going to be talking about sequels and part twos, or sequels and spin-offs. Sequels and spin-offs is what we're going to be talking about today. And I got this idea from none other than John Collins, who messaged me yesterday and asked me this question. And I said, well, you know what? Let's just talk about sequels and spin-offs and whether or not we like them or don't like them, our favorites, our least favorites. Maybe some of them we know about, maybe some of them we didn't know about. And John Collins wrote, hey, Ian, remember Back to the Future 2 question? And that's the question he was referring to, the Sparks Almanac being left in Biff's office before Biff gets knocked out on the roof of the D. Lorraine door. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. Why didn't Marty go back and get it? Because the movie would have been over. No, that's a great point. That's one of those things that you wish that people would have seen, or you wonder about, like you wonder really, like when they're in the opera. Like, I never seen that before, so it wouldn't surprise me if the people who wrote the movie didn't see that, or if they just thought, well, we're hoping nobody will catch on. But that's one of those things. It's just like, yep, movie over, movie ended. um but yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know why. I mean, he should have. I mean, he should have done that. That's one of those how it should have ended. And I don't know if you've ever watched those shows here on YouTube, how it should have ended, but they point out things like that, and then the movie's over in just a few moments. Tracy Rothmeyer's writes, will do. Well, I hope we get an air saying will do to listening to Huntington or Lifesavers Huntington Beach. Not just that song, it's the album. Huntington Beach is the name of the album. There is a song called that though, but really good. And The Sad Life and Ending, who is always welcome to come on the show. You contact me. I would love to interview you for a podcast. Writes this. The Life and Sad Ending writes, you are like the Wizard of Oz. I don't know what you mean by that, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. If you haven't dropped off, please let me know. I think that would be good. I hope it's good. I hope you mean something good by it. But I'm like, you mean like don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain kind of thing, or I don't know, or like the Wizard of Oz, like you're like the movie The Wizard of Oz. I'm not real sure what is being meant there. And Tracy Rothmeyers writes, I sell jewelry online on Facebook, and I made a mistake by going on a friend's page instead of my own business page. LOL. Yeah, probably going um, probably going back, probably going back to my mistake on yeah, hitting the wrong button and not letting my cornflake come club in first. And then she also writes, mistakes happen. Yes, they do. Um, and the Life and Sad Ending says you don't know how the computer works. A truer statement couldn't be said. I'm really bad at computer kind of stuff. So I don't know exactly what I'm doing now, but I hope everybody can hear me. Oh, I know people can hear me because you've made comments to the point. So with the people who are watching right now, uh, oh, he writes here this LOL, when the wizard doesn't know how the balloon works. I mean, yeah, something like that, right? Something like that. Well, we are waiting for Thrashpondo Ponds to get back on here. Hopefully, we'll see him soon. Pay no attention. I don't know either. And I don't know either. Just kidding. glad to know. Glad to know. Pay no attention to the dogs barking in the background. I'm sorry. I really have no control over it. If I got up and did that, it would be seriously uncouth of me to leave the broadcast to go take care of such a mundane situation. They're just going to be barking about. You can just pretend you're here with me, like in this room setting, looking at my books and looking at my memorabilia that I pull up every now and again from, and my guitars and stuff. And you're hearing my dog bark. Like if we were just sitting around my coffee table having a conversation, I don't think the dogs barking would bother you, but they bother me because I know it's going out live on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, on YouTube. It's not going out live on YouTube. So speaking of Wizard of Oz had an 80s remake to it. And I don't know if you guys ever got to watch that remake, but I know I watched it. Not remake, part two, a sequel, a spinoff, Return to Oz. That's what it was called, Return to Oz. A little bit scarier and a little bit 80s out and a little bit more cheesy. And like a lot of sequels, it falls into the sequels category where it just doesn't get the traction that it deserved, or doesn't get the traction as a lot of people think that it should. I forgot the name, so let's read some of these comments here. Tracy Ross Myers says that she loves Life and Sad Endings video. I love them too. They're really good. And I saw The Wiz. Yeah, The Wiz. This was Return to Oz. It had a pretty kind of a famous actress in it. I forgot the name of the girl. She was in The Craft, though. She was one of the girls that was in The Craft, and she's done some other stuff and kind of had a hard life. I'm responding to this. Life and Sad Ending. Ask who was in that. Forgot her name. But like a lot of times, they're good movies, but they just don't get the they don't get the traction that I think that they deserve. One movie like that was Ghostbusters 2. And I don't know if you were a Ghostbusters 2 fan, but I was a Ghostbusters 2 fan. I thought it was really good. And I'm sad that they didn't make a Ghostbusters 3. Now, eventually we had the reboot, and eventually there's a third installment now. But they were actually going to make a Ghostbusters 3 movie, but it got tied up kind of in red tape. Bill Murray was not wanting to be involved, but there was some talk of him being CGI'd in. And back when CGI was kind of new stuff, and they were going to have him die like right away and be a ghost. And Bill Murray actually toyed with the idea of maybe coming in for one scene, like just as a favor to Dan Aykroyd, his friend. But they didn't do it, and it was going to be a pass the torch show. And in the 90s, people were considered for this. People like Chris Farley and Will Smith were considered to be kind of the next generation of the Ghostbusters. All right, John Collins writes in, I don't like when they make sequels or trilogies just to make money. It needs to make sense within the storyline. The first two Back to the Futures were awesome. The third was an unnecessary. Yes, I agree with you. I loved the first two. I didn't hate the third one, but I didn't love it. I thought the second one was action packed and great. And Superplex, how you doing, Superplex, my friend? Return to Oz was a good movie. It has been I don't think I've seen it actually since it came out. And I think that a friend of mine had it on VHS and we watched it back in the 80s. I do remember the review of Return to Oz by that was on a show I used to watch on Movie Reviews, and it was Leonard Nimoy. He had a show for a little while where he reviewed movies. I don't know if you remember that, but it came on Nickelodeon. And I was a big fan of that show, and he did a review of Return to Oz on that show. Let's see. And we got some highs. Hi. Here's what I want to talk about. Um, uh, I like what John Collins says here about the movies that don't need to be remade, that's being remade. Did you know that The Matrix was originally going to be a trilogy, and that they didn't get the budget for the trilogy, and The Matrix, the first one, was actually supposed to be Matrix 1, 2, and 3, and they cut it down. That would be like Star Wars. You have Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And that was originally supposed to be one show, but he realized it was too long. But could you just imagine the uppers at the studios coming in and saying to George Lucas, hey, look, we're not going to do 3 films. You got to cut it down to 1 film. And that's what that was like. And I do believe we have Thrashpondo Ponds on the stream here. Hey, buddy.
Remember those infamous catastrophic system failures I have? For some reason,
Yes.
My camera crashed. I had to take it out, put it back in, and then reboot the system. That seems to be working. Let's keep our fingers crossed, okay?
Yeah, and I can hear you fine, and I can see you fine, so that's great.
Likewise, I'm sure.
Yeah, one of the shows that I wanted to talk about that, there was a sequel that we didn't get that we should have gotten, and that was E.T. 2. Did you ever hear about E.T. 2? Who else out there heard about E.T. 2? Lots of stuff out there. I'm going to do a video one of these days of sequels that we should have got that we didn't get. That's going to be one of my videos that I want to do, part 2. Thrash, let's see. I'm going to go down here a little bit. You're my reader, Thrashpondo, so here we go.
Tracy Roth Myers, how are we doing tonight, Tracy? Like, I loved Rocky 1 and 2, but the rest was overkill. Oh, sorry, but 3 was overkill.
Yeah, they do those overkills, but I loved Rocky 3. I loved it. And
I've been to the fool who liked number 3.
I was super young when it came out. Like, again, it was one of those shows that came out when I was 10, and of course I liked Mr. T and Hulk Hogan, who played was it Hot Lips or something like that? I can't remember.
I
Yeah,
remember him in the movie. I forget what he played.
yeah. But I get it. I know. But I was excited about it, and Rocky 3 is one of the shows that really got me kind of into fighting a little bit. I was already doing kind of martial arts, and Rocky 1 and 2 had come out, but didn't really make a big impact on me. But Rocky 3, silly show, but I liked it. I liked Rocky 4. Did you like Rocky 4?
I liked Rocky 4 for what it was. Let's face facts. Cold War propaganda. He's fighting a Russian, and at the end, even the spoiler alerts, even the Russians are rooting for him. That's like some John Wayne would have made that movie 30 years before. Well,
Yeah.
pity the fool who doesn't fight me in the ring there, Russian. Yeah. But did I enjoy it? Yes. Guilty pleasure.
A guilty pleasure. All
Guilty
right.
pleasure, yeah.
Let's see.
Another one. Superplex. Jaws 2 was unnecessary.
Never saw it, so probably. I don't.
It was unnecessary.
There's an old joke. There's an old. I can't remember as a stand-up comedian that says, you know how you solve Jaws, you move to an apartment, because the fish hunts the family. It's like, why would they move to another place? Another place with water if it's hunting the family. I don't even know. I really don't even know if I saw Jaws like all the way through. Really? Yeah, really,
No
for real. I know. I have a show about shows, and I have never seen Jaws. Well, I have seen it, but it's like one of those things where it's been on. I never saw it in theater because I was too young, and then I saw it's been on the TV. Let's put it that way. It's one of those shows that's on, and then you kind of glance at it and go, and you watch it for a little while. Then, hey, oh yeah, I'll be there in a minute. Pizza's at the door, or kind of that happens with some movies sometimes.
And Tracy Roth Myers says thrash, and I say throng to you, Tracy. Superplex. T-Pawns in the house. Yes, I am. Eventually. I always get there in the end. And Superplex also goes on to say, Tracy Roth Myers, did you like Rocky 4?
I'd be interested in hearing that. Let's see.
Mr. John Collins is in the house. Hey, John. I enjoyed All in the Family, but they should have stopped when Mike and Gloria left. And there was no need for Archie Bunker's place.
I agree. I do too. I think that's one of those things that.
Oh, Mr. 79 Man says, well, I thought you were finishing your thought. I was going to wait for you. I was waiting for you to finish, ENC. Mr. 79 Man says, hi, ENC and Thrash. And hey, hello buddy. To you.
Yes, glad you could join us on the live stream. Sure. Go ahead.
And Rocky 4 was a classic.
I think, yeah, I mean, we can continue to talk about that. I think John Collins was kind of steering us into the direction of spin-offs. Mm-hmm. And I just did a video today about movies that had spin-off TV shows that weren't as successful as the movie. And there's could definitely, I did 3 because that's a lot to do. You get longer and longer. I mean, you could do 10, but because there's actually a lot of them. But yeah, spin-offs. They had the spin-offs. Isn't the Jeffersons a spin-off actually?
Yes, the Jeffersons were actually Archie and Edith's neighbors. Originally, they were just his dry cleaner, and George and Archie would have words. And what happened was, it's so funny when you mentioned Mike and Gloria leaving. Originally, Mike and Gloria had bought the house next door. They decided they were going to sell. And who bought the house next door? The Jeffersons. So the Jeffersons became their neighbors, and that became a running thread of contention. Of course, as we all know, the Jeffersons moved on up to where? To the east side.
To the east side.
I probably should stop singing right there. They'll shut us down.
Yeah. They're gonna. Yeah, they'll see.
But it's actually amazing how many sequels were taken directly from All in the Family. Maude, Good Times, and there's a cascading effect with those. Oh, Miss Tracy is back. Tracy Roth Myers said, I actually love them all. that robot in 3 was so unnecessary.
Yeah. I thought the robot in 3 was unnecessary too, and it's kind of weird the flirtiness with that robot. And what's crazy about this is I saw a video on this. I didn't read this myself, but apparently there's a book adaptation from the movie. They do that a lot. Like they'll do the movie first and then they'll do the book. So like I read The Karate Kid because I read the book because the movie was out and the book was based on the movie. They did that with Karate. They did that with Rocky 3, and there was a little bit more of an interesting relationship between the uncle and the robot in the book that is
in rapport, as they say.
it's kind of flirty. It's kind of more flirty. You know how the uncle's always interacting with that robot in the third one? So it's more flirty, and it's kind of a little like edges on inappropriate, but who knows?
What happened to our robot servants? We should have robot servants by now. We never got them. But
I had no idea. You know, again, I was young and I had no idea that those robots weren't real. I thought you could do all that stuff. I mean, you think about how dumb I am on a computer now. I mean, times that by ignorance times 1,000 and make me 10 years old. And I think computers can just do anything, that all that stuff is real. So I was like, whoa, of course we're going to have robots. That's just for rich people, though, but we should have them by now.
Musk, among others. Life and Sad Ending. Welcome to the party. Godfather 2. Better than the original Godfather. Fact.
Okay. I will take your word for it. I've never seen any of the Godfathers, so.
1 or 2? I don't count 3. Yeah, take that, Internet. I must confer with Life and Sad Ending. It is possibly the greatest, shall we say, sequel ever made. And it certainly is, at the very least, par for par with the original, but I, too, believe it is a better film. Marginally better. I love the first Godfather, but Godfather 2 does surpass the original. And that is very rare among sequels.
We talked about this a little bit before in the past because some of the ideas were kicked around about our book versus movie series and whether or not somebody would do Godfather. And I'm just not a mafia fan. They're just not my favorite. I've seen Goodfellas and I saw Casino, and like that's about it. You know, it's just not my deal. It's not my deal. I'm not interested. I mean, I'm sure like if I was at your house and like you said, hey, let's watch Godfather or something, I would sit down and watch it and I'd probably just enjoy the company more. So let's see. Let's see here.
Superplex. Okay. What are your opinions on Son of Frankenstein?
Go ahead. Because again, I mean, you're throwing out ones that I have not. Here we are. I'm supposed to be running a YouTube channel on nostalgia and movies and entertainment, and you are just throwing lots out that I have never even seen, and I feel ashamed. Now, there are some that I feel ashamed that I've never seen, like Godfather. Of course, it's a classic. Even if I don't like it, I should watch it. Jaws, kind of watched it. I know enough about it. Yes, it should be in my repertoire. But Son of Frankenstein, I have no idea. Was that the one with? Oh gosh, who's the guy that does the Shakespearean stuff? And I can't remember. I can't remember who it was. Do you know?
Well, I can't think of the name to save my life. Doubly now that you brought his name up, so I'm drawing a blank. If I remember correctly, and see, to me, all the Frankenstein movies kind of blend together into one giant epic of Frankenstein's monster. I've seen them all. It's hard for me to distinguish what I saw in what. If I remember correctly, and please help me out here if I'm wrong, the Son of Frankenstein is known for that segment where the guy has the homunculi, and they're basically very small people he keeps in jars, and they get out and hilarity ensues. But for some reason, that might be, if it's brought up, please forgive me, but I like all the Frankenstein movies, particularly the old black and whites. That being said, the Christopher Lee, did my camera just crash again?
It did, but keep going. If
I
you
will
can
keep
see
going.
me,
I will keep going this up. The Christopher Lee ones were good, but as far as the old black and whites go, it's hard for me to really keep them all distinguished.
all right. And then
Mr. 79 Man. Rocky 5 is good too.
I agree. I agree. I loved Rocky 5 as well. Rocky 5 was that's the one where they went to the streets and he neglects his son. I liked them all. I like those Rockies. I think the only Rocky that I have not seen yet is Creed 2. I saw Creed, but I haven't seen Creed 2, which is technically in the Rocky line, but not Rocky.
Trace Brooke Myers says Defo John.
I don't know. I don't get that.
I'm not sure.
Do you get?
I'm
Not sure.
Missing something there, I'm afraid. But Defo John to you too, Tracy. Superbreath says The Life and Sad Ending. Another sequel better than the original was The Road Warrior. I'm assuming this is The Road Warrior. And yes, I couldn't agree with you more. That one, I did love Mad Max, but I thought The Road Warrior was excellent.
I didn't like Mad Max, personally speaking. Mad Max was just a little too boring for me. I don't know if I would have a different opinion if I watched it now, but Road Warrior was the bomb. And again, the third one, Beyond Thunderdome, I was young enough to have that be interesting to me. I have watched that since I've gotten older, and I do realize that if I was older back then and tried to watch it, I probably would have laughed my butt off just thinking about it and thought this was just a tremendous tragedy. But I was pretty young. I was like 13 when it came out, 13 or 14. So the Beyond Thunderdome was good, but yeah, Road Warrior was when you think of that series, you think of the Road Warrior. I mean, that's it. And I like the reboot too.
And Tracy Ross Myers says, yes, I did. Superplex.
I don't know what that means. How about Mod?
And Tracy said, how about Mod?
And
Superplex says, The Road Warrior was better than Mad Max. John Collins says, Thrash, can you answer my first Back to the Future 2 question? I'd like to hear your opinion. I would be honored if I were to know the question.
So basically, Biff left the almanac in his office, and then Biff got knocked out. And it was one of those situations where Marty should have just gone to the office and taken the almanac. And he didn't do it. I think if I'm summarizing it correctly. Do you remember that?
Well, if I remember correctly, and it's been so many years since I've seen it in the great movies, but what happened was Marty grabs the almanac in the first place, and the doctor talks him out of using it for ill-gotten gain. So he tosses it, but an older Biff grabs it and manages to bring it back to his younger self, saying, you'll know what to do with this. And he actually goes back in time to earlier the evening of that prom. Correct me if I'm wrong. And after Biff does get knocked out, he finds the book. It's actually in his back seat.
I think he's talking about in the alternate 1985 when he comes back.
Oh, okay.
Biff gets knocked out at the top of on the building, doesn't he? But the almanac is in his office, and he just doesn't rush back and get it. But anyway, I could be wrong.
I see what you're saying. If you watch the Back to the Future movies very closely, there's a lot of continuity issues with them, and I don't want to say it detracts from the enjoyment of the film, but I think you just have to learn to let some of the things slide. Like, for example, why does Marty McFly resemble his father and also his maternal great-great-grandfather? We probably don't want to get into that now, do we? So, yes, you have to kind of... I don't think it was ever really meant to be taken... I think it was meant to be taken with a grain of salt. So
yeah.
The short answer, John Collins, is As they
Don't
say in Rick and
overthink it.
Morty, don't worry about it. Life and set ending. How about Dusty's Trails with Bob Denver, a redo of Gilligan's Island? It was syndicated. It was a syndicated '70s series.
Hmm.
Do you remember that one at all?
No, not at all.
I
Not
actually
at all.
do. I actually do. It was he played basically Gilligan, only they're running a stagecoach through the desert, and they get lost. And instead of Alan Hill Jr., the leader or the his skipper character, as you might say, was played by Forrest Tucker, and the chemistry between the two of them was pretty good. But it was basically Gilligan's Island in dirt.
Gilligan's Island in the desert. Well,
In the
it
desert,
had
yeah.
to be better than Gilligan's Planet. Let me tell you
That was
that.
just that was crazy. That was just
That was funny. That was funny.
they
No,
were trying to like ride the crest of the Star Wars phenomenon that was the late '70s, early '80s. But no, that was ludicrous. It really was. Mr. 79 Man, Rocky 4 has the robot. It was Rocky 4. That kept kicking around my head. They got that one for the Cold War propaganda film. 3
Right.
was Mr. T, and there was no robot. You're right.
That's because we're so much more technologically advanced than the Ruskies that, we have to. I just watched an episode of Family Ties last night where the one where Alex beats the Ruski in chess, or they both get disqualified. And it kind of reminded me of that, the whole height of the Cold War stuff happening back then, and Red Dawn, all those height of the Cold War kind of things. Yes, that's right.
And Superplex is back with should they make a sequel to Battle Angel Attila?
No. The first one I didn't care for at all. So I saw it in the theater. I don't know if you saw it in the theater, Thrash, but it wasn't that. I mean, it was a fun show. I mean, let me just say it was fun. If you're looking to spend a little money to go to the movie, it was enhanced because it's in a theater, and you got the special effects and the action scenes and all that stuff. But I mean, do you really need a part 2 to a turd? I mean,
I would vote no as well. Then I'll defer to your knowledge.
It's just it was okay. I mean, I'm sure that some people might like it, and I don't want to upset anybody in saying something like that. But it was just kind of a silly, fun show, and why not leave it at that?
Check. And Tracy Roth-Myers says Rosie from the Jetsons with a
yes, yeah. That is the idea. That is what that reminded me of in that show, Rosie from the Jetsons, and then plus that's the kind of stuff we need to have now, right?
Definitely. I've been waiting 40 years for it. Oh, John Collins. Any Meatballs sequels are unnecessary.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think I saw Meatballs, and then I think I saw, excuse me, I think I saw Meatballs Part 2. And I wasn't a fan of it.
The only part of Meatballs 2 that I enjoyed is when they're watching Shockwave. And if I wanted to watch Shockwave, I would just watch Shockwave. So yeah, Meatballs 2 was tragic. Not a fan.
Not a fan.
Not a fan.
All right.
Tracy Roth-Myers. Godfather movies were the best.
Look, it's one of those things that's like, I'm glad people like different movies, and I know that I am on the outside of some of those things. Like, I really do know that there are some great movies. For me, like sports, like there are tons of people who are really into sports, and I've tried to watch sports, and I just can't get into it. I just cannot get into it. I get around people who are excited about sports, and I just can't make myself get into it. And I know that I'm the lone guy. I know that I'm on the outsider. I know that I'm the guy that's you got to be kidding me. You didn't watch the Godfather movies and stuff like that, or you turned them on for 10 minutes and went, man, I got to get out of here. That's just my mentality. I'm glad that people are into different things, and I'm glad that people do like Godfather movies, and I'm glad that people like mobster movies. It just didn't really appeal to me, and I don't know why. It's just like I wish I could. I really do wish I mean, I wish I could get it what everybody else is seeing, and I can't. So, but it takes all kinds of people to make a world. All right.
All right. Alan, Mr. 79 Man, Caddyshack 2 equals bad.
Caddyshack 2 equals bad. Well, I have to admit that I have seen both Caddyshack and Caddyshack 2. And as I understand it, Caddyshack 1 is the classic and Caddyshack 2 is the quest to make more money. Wasn't too much of a fan of either of them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Caddyshack 1 was better than Caddyshack 2 for sure. But I didn't love Caddyshack 1. I know that was kind of, it was a little, yeah, I don't know. I like the music better. The
Kenny
Footloose.
Loggins did both.
Kenny
too,
Loggins. Yeah, Kenny Loggins.
Kenny Loggins
All
did
right.
the main song for both.
Well, I hope you can stay for this. Go ahead and read that.
Oh, certainly. Jimmy C says, can't stay, just wanted to stop by and say hi. And hi to you, Jimmy C. Glad you could join us. Also,
hi,
briefly.
Jimmy. Thank you for your brief appearance. I wish you could stick around, but I understand if you have to go.
Likewise. Zublik says, Police Academy, sequels were awful.
Yeah. Police Academy. What a great show that was. I mean, what an awesome show. What an awesome show. I was a fan of part 2. I did like Police Academy part 2. What was the one with, and I was trying to think of that name when we were doing our stand-up, the one with Bobcat Goldthwait. Remember that?
Was
that
in the second one. That's where he was introduced. He was introduced in the second one. And he actually, I think he was in the rest from that point forward, but he was introduced. He's a gang member in the second one, and is hysterical.
I like this. I'll tell you why I like the second one. Is because there's some martial arts in it. Because that guy that does the beat, the guy that does the sound, he does the flip over the fence, and he takes the eskrima sticks and he beats some gang members up. Was that in the second? That was in the second one.
It was in the second one. And he does that thing where he manages to talk without his lips being in sync with his words. And I don't know how he did it, but like an old Hong Kong martial arts movie, he manages to do that. And I thought that was very slick. And that was number 2.
That was great. I don't remember if I'm sure I saw the third one, and I know I saw the fourth one because guess who was supposed to be in the fourth one?
Whom?
Vince Neil was supposed to be in the fourth one.
Really?
You know, the singer. Yep. And actually, he filmed the scene, and you might even be able to see the scene on YouTube. I haven't looked for it forever, but he was supposed to be in the fourth one. Filmed the fourth one. Well, his scene was in the fourth one, but they cut it in editing.
Any reason?
I don't know. I don't think it was like nefarious or anything, but I think it was just one of those editor's cuts or director, one of those things. Hey, we got to move the story along, and we got to get the movie to an hour and a half, and there's just certain scenes that have got to go. But I know I saw the fourth one. I know I saw the third one too, but I don't remember it. But I remember seeing the fourth one and wanting to see the Vince Neil scene. And then, of course, back then you had to get the magazines and stuff to know why. You couldn't just get on YouTube, or you had to catch the episode of Entertainment Tonight that had it. It was if you weren't there when it was on, you didn't see it. You didn't see it. And so I didn't know why until years later that it got cut. Because I remember seeing backstage scenes and stuff behind the scenes where Vince Neil had the script and he was reading it, and I think he plays a version of himself actually. I think he plays a rock star or something, and he was back because he had the long hair and the leather on and all that stuff, and he's talking about how he has to memorize this in an hour, and that's why they pay him the big bucks, is what he said. And so then the scene got cut, and I didn't realize that till years later. And I'm watching number 4, and I'm like, I know he's supposed to be in it. I saw the back scenes on MTV, and he's supposed to be in it, and not realizing that he had gotten cut or something happened anyway.
I've
So,
never heard that story. It's a great story. Oh,
yeah.
Mr. 79 Man is back. Police Academy movies were great.
Uh, yeah. The first one was great, and like I said, I loved the second one because of the martial arts stuff, but I wasn't too much of a fan of the rest of them. Just wasn't. I don't know about you, Thrash.
I actually like the first two. I think I saw the third one, didn't care for it, and just stopped altogether after that one. But I did like the first two.
Let's see here.
John Collins is back. Ian, you know I enjoy everything about your character and your channel. However, do you see the irony slash humor when you say a movie or TV show was too preachy when you are indeed a preacher? Ooh.
Yeah, well, there's a happy inconsistency there. Um, let me just say that I I
Do
yeah.
as I say, not as I do.
No, not that at all. Not that at
I'm
all.
kidding. I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
It just gets a little weary. Like, okay, so for instance, on the opposite side of this, like I don't like listening to stars about their political views. Like even though I have an opinion about politics and it's informed to some degree, it's like I'm not watching that for the politics. I'm not watching it. And while I don't mind, like sometimes, like Family Ties is a great example. I don't mind when it comes up now and again, like, because, issues come up. It's real life. But oh my, it's like with every television show, they have to make a point. It's just like, can it just be funny? Can it just be? It was like they were trying to teach a lesson. But I do get the irony. I do. But you see, it's not just with that. It's with other things too. It's just like I'm watching this for the entertainment value. I'm not really watching this like a supplement to a Bible study or something like that. So I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to open my Bible and turn on Family Ties or turn on the Wonder Years and see what I can learn. I'm watching it more for kind of the mindless entertainment value of it. And so it does get a little now go off subject here a little bit. Now, I don't mind when people talk religiously about things. That doesn't bug me at all. Actually, I actually enjoy that. It's one of those things where it's just like, oh, we're going to talk about how bad stealing is, or we're going to talk about how bad racism is, or we're going to talk about. It's one of those over the top things. It's just like when, for example, like let's talk about like for example, like when a kid got like, yeah, I stole some lunch money at school and I feel sorry about it. And from that point on, anytime the mother sees something about stealing, she has to go out of her way to make a point about it. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if
Yes,
I'm
I do.
making sense,
No,
but
no, I get it. I get it. It's there's small doses is one thing, but when it becomes an ongoing thing, it becomes too repetitive and it borders on nagging.
yes,
I
yeah, I like that. It does border on nagging for sure. It borders on. It's not so much. I say preachy because that's kind of my background, but I kind of more mean like lessony. Like lessons is the lesson you need to learn. So, but I get it. Thanks for pointing that out, John. I appreciate it.
Tracy Roth Myers is back. Balboa made me cry because of Adrian's death. It came out when my own mother died. Oh.
Uh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, those are those are sad things, and sometimes when it comes on TV, like you just like you can be going through something. I've had things like this happen in my life that I know of, but I maybe can't give a good example of it right now. But something you're going through, and then the TV kind of pushes you over the edge. Kind of that
Mm-hmm.
last straw. Like maybe
Yes.
you lost a job and you can't afford your rent, and then the next thing you know, the star of the television show best
Loses the
friend
job.
lost the job, and it's just like, oh gosh, is it in everything? Is it in everything? I get it. I'm sorry about that. That does suck. Death is truly an enemy.
Life Inside Ending. They were thinking of making a sequel to Waterworld, but that idea got flushed.
Oh my. Hey, did you know? I think this is a joke, right? I don't think it was real that they were making a sequel to Waterworld. Although I wouldn't put it past Kevin Costner to think of that because he's got an inflated ego, that one.
Yeah, too funny. Well,
Did
I thought The Postman was a sequel to Waterworld, and it
Yeah.
was Dirt World.
It was what?
Dirt World.
Oh,
Instead of
Dirt
Waterworld,
World.
Dirt World. Yeah, that was the best I could do on such short notice.
You know what's interesting? Waterworld, I didn't like it. Well, it
No
it
one
was
did.
okay.
No, it wasn't. It was
But
bad.
I enjoyed The Postman.
The Postman was a better film. I am an aficionado on post-apocalyptic film, and The Postman was a fine film. In fact, The Postman suffered greatly because of the fact that it came out after Waterworld. If Postman had come out first, it probably would have done much better. But people said, "Oh, look, another post-apocalyptic film with Kevin Costner. I'm not going to go see it," and I
Yes.
think it suffered. But
Well, listen, then this gives me an idea. We have to do a show about, I might do a video, but we definitely have to do a show about post-apocalyptic movies.
I'm in. I am
Okay.
an expert. I am an expert on
All right.
post-apocalyptic film.
We're gonna do it. And to go back to the previous one, I'm trying to line up Dave Sundstrom for a night so that we can talk about the lessons we actually did learn from watching television. I want him on the program for that one. But
Cool.
post-apocalypse, we got to do that one.
I saw your eyes light up when I mentioned it. LOL to you too. Tracy Ross Myers. How about the Addams Family Reunion show in '79 / or question mark '80?
Don't know too much about it. Don't really
Me
know too
neither.
much about it.
Me neither.
So
I was around then, but I don't remember it.
I like the '90s movies. I thought they were really good. Addams Family and Addams Family Values.
Was Raul Julia?
Yeah. Well, that was one of the only times I ever got goth because it was a thing that we did where we would dress up like goth people and go watch the Addams Family. We did it several times. Dressed up. Now it wasn't really my idea, I have to say. It was some friends of. It was like a loose group that I was associated with that I'd hang out. Because you got to remember, I think I said this before. When I grew up, I was a geek, but I was very intertribal. Like I'd hang out with the stoners, but then I'd also hang out with. I'd have friends who were preppies. I had friends who were jocks. I had friends in all areas. I had friends with. I would hang out with pretty much anybody. And I had friends who were goth. And even though I personally wasn't goth, there was a couple occasions where I'm hanging out with my friends who are more goth than I am, and they wanted to go see Addams Family. It was either Addams Family or Addams Family Value, and they dressed me up all goth, the white makeup and the black lipstick and all that stuff, and we would go watch Addams Family Value dressed up all goth. We almost got into a fight too. There were some, there were some cowboys who wanted to fight us. They're giving us the evil eye.
Good old boys, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if cowboys are a big thing where you are, but growing up here, there was a big cowboys were one of the big cliques, and they did not like stoners, and they did not like goth. They didn't. They would get into fights. And there would be like big fights too. There'd be like the cowboys are down there, with the belt buckles and I don't know if they're really cowboys or not, but and they would be down on the football field and there'd be 4 or 5 of them. And then there would be like 4 or 5 stoners down there with the long hair and the concert shirt and the denim jacket and kind of thing. And they'd fight, man. They'd be like group fights at my school that I went to. It's crazy. Yeah. All right.
Tom Berenger. Hey, welcome to the party. Hello, Ian and Thrash. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you, buddy. I'm glad you could join us for however long you were able to join us. All right. Let's see.
Zorblix. What about all those horror sequels like Friday the 13th and Halloween, etc., etc.?
The only indulgement, and I've said this before, and I did this when I was young, and this might go back to John Collins, who might wonder about this. Like, do I ever have lines in the sands? And this, I do. And one of them is horror films. I just don't watch them. I've met too many demons. I wouldn't want to cross the street to meet another one. and the only thing that I've ever did when I was younger, I did this, was I used to watch um, the Nightmare on Elm Streets. I thought the Nightmare on Elm Streets were rather good, and I did like that for a while, but I kind of got out of it super quickly after my religious experience, and it did have to do. Don't want to sound weird. Don't want to bring the show to kind of some weird place, and what I've talked about it before. Yeah, it did have to do with meeting some demons, other dimensional beings, and I am not interested in the evil that comes out from the other world. So I don't touch that stuff at all.
Understandable. I watched a number of them, and I found as the series progressed, both in Friday the 13th and in Halloween, as they progressed, they got more progressively bad. So I kind of tuned out before the end in both cases. I did kind of like the Friday the 13th anthology series. For those of you who remember, it would have been, I want to say, in the late 80s. And it was basically like Tales from the Crypt, where each week the idea was it was a haunted thrift shop, which had sold a bunch of haunted items. And
I
each
remember
week
that.
they had to get one back. And
I
like
watched that. Yeah,
yes.
I did like that show too when it came out. And actually, there was a weekly series that was based on A Nightmare on Elm Street too. Did you ever watch that one?
Freddy's Nightmares?
Yeah, was that it? Was that what it was called?
I remember Freddy's Nightmares.
It was a weekly series. It was a weekly series where he introduced the shows.
Yeah, I believe it was called Freddy's Nightmares. I do remember that. There was also a very short-lived show starring Robert Englund, not as Freddy Krueger, but it too was an anthology series. It was called Nightmare Cafe or something, and there was about these interdimensional beings that had adventures, usually with a dark side, but good always managed to prevail. And I think it lasted like 3 episodes. So we should do a show on 80s anthology horror movies or TV shows rather. But then again, you don't like horror, so maybe we shouldn't do that.
That would be interesting. I remember Fred Ingram from a little show called V. Remember him?
I do. In fact, I wanted to talk to him. I'm so glad you brought that up. We were talking about re-envisionings of TV shows. I loved the original V miniseries. It was basically a World War II story set in modern-day America, where America was occupied France, and the Nazis were, in fact, reptilian aliens from another planet. And I thought it just worked wonderfully. And then the next century, they do a re-envisioning of it. And I thought it was horrible. I hated the re-envisioning that came out a few years ago. Do you remember it?
I did, and I didn't get to see it.
Well,
I had one of my favorite actresses in it. I forgot her name, but it's the girl that plays in Firefly.
Oh, yes. I know you're talking about. I can't think of her name, but yeah, but the show is terrible.
She plays Lenore in Firefly, which I loved. All right, let's get to some of these.
Sure. Superplex. Wayne's World 2. Any opinions? Go ahead.
Loved them both. I thought Wayne's World 1 was kind of a classic, and I think that's kind of Wayne's World 1 and kind of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure they were very interesting because they were that bridge between the 80s and 90s and the music and the culture, where you saw some new music kind of coming in and some old music kind of going out, but still being respected. And so I loved both of those. I loved both Wayne's World 1 and 2. Thought they were both good. Probably Wayne's World 2 is a little less, not quite as good as the classic, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was actually really, really good. Yes.
Well said.
Okay. All right. Let's get through some of these here.
Mr. 39 Men. Part 2 and 3 had Bobcat. Oh, so it was just 2 and 3. As I said, I tuned out after 3. So that explains it. But yes, I do remember from 2 and 3. Alfred, and I'm going to butcher your name, I'm so sorry. O'Darty? Welcome to the party, Mr. O'Darty. Wild West was disappointing.
The movie was disappointing. I thought it was fun, but of course, they could have called it something else.
I despised. In fact, the only Will Smith movie I like less than Wild Wild West is I Am Legend. I thought that was a travesty to the original novella written by Richard Matheson. So that one was worse. But Wild Wild West, and it wasn't even Will Smith. What I hated about it most was just how poorly they cast Miguelito Loveless. I mean, he's not even a dwarf. I mean, how can you do Wild Wild West and get Miguelito Loveless wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, he was the perfect foil for Wild. I mean, Mr. West was this very dashing, handsome, capable, two-fisted man, and he's going to make against Miguelito Loveless, who has all kinds of things working against him, and they make the perfect yin and yang. They made the perfect, confrontational duo, and I just thought it was just a terrible the way it was handled in the movie. So disappointing doesn't touch it. I couldn't agree with you more. Mr. 79 Man, Michael Winslow, Motormouth Jones.
Don't even know it. Not even familiar with it. I don't know.
Me neither, sorry. Mission Impossible was good.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of Mission Impossible. Huge fan. And I know all the cheesiness and everything about it. I was a huge fan of all of them. I think the later ones, especially like 3, 4, and 5, like I think they're very good stories. I think the MacGuffin, we all know what the MacGuffin is, right? That's the thing in the story that everybody cares about and you don't care about at all. That's what a MacGuffin is in the movie. I think they do a genius job with the MacGuffin scenario in those shows, because the MacGuffin scenario is normally a person in those movies. And I think they do an excellent job. I was a huge fan of Mission Impossible, and I actually even like the television show. Although I'm not as familiar with the television show, I watched it quite a bit. But the movies, hey, I enjoyed all of them. Second one was probably my least favorite out of all of them, but still, even the second one was good in my opinion. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You have something to say or no? You
Me? I thought you covered it very, very, very well. I don't believe I saw all of them. I think I only saw the first two. I don't think I saw the third one. I may have, but I mean, I certainly enjoyed them. I certainly enjoyed them. I thought you hit the nail right on the head. So I
You got
felt.
to watch them. You will watch them from the backwards order, from the latest to the newest. They're really good.
Mr. 79 Man, Police Academy 4 was the last film with Gutberg, aka Mahoney.
I kind of, I think 5 didn't even have them in it.
And I
If
believe they
they're
actually made 6, didn't they? There were 6 altogether.
Yeah,
Oh, Superplex, what are your opinions on the Planet of the Apes sequels?
don't have one. Don't have one.
I
I
am actually, remember my aficionadoness on post-apocalyptic fiction. Um,
Yes.
I've seen them all. I have the box set. I enjoy them all. I must say, I think the third one is possibly the weakest of the 5 trilogy. It was set in present day at the time, and while I thought it was a neat premise, it just didn't really click for me. I love the first 2, and I love the last 2. And the one in the middle, well, it's okay. It just doesn't really work for me. But
Mhm.
you do have to see it because the plot thread goes throughout. But to be honest, it's possibly, in my opinion, it may just be my favorite film franchise of all time.
Oh, cool. Did you like the
And
reboots?
I found them entertaining. They kind of went rogue. One thing I did love, and since we're talking about TV adaptations, I love the TV series. In fact, on my channel, I have a whole spiel about Planet of the Apes and about how it and so many other TV sci-fi series of that time frame were effectively The Fugitive with a sci-fi backdrop.
Right.
And trust me, if you actually look for it, it really holds that template. I think we just lost Ian, or they lost me.
All right. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm back. I'm back. And then let's add you. You're back too.
I don't know what happened, but when I went to join back in, I came back in at the
So,
risk of being redundant. So we're both back.
yeah, I got a lot of comments here. Not sure going to be able to get to them all. I want to go back up to this where we were here. Well, I think this is where we were.
Mr.
Yeah,
Burrell says, to be fair, Melrose Place was a fun and entertaining 90s guilty pleasure, though it started out as a spinoff from Beverly Hills 90210. It helped bring primetime soaps back from the dead.
I think so. That's a good point, Terrell. Yeah, guilty pleasure for a lot of people. Had a girlfriend who was really into 90210. Was not a big fan myself. Caught a couple episodes of Melrose Place. Just not too big of a fan for me, but I know a lot of people really loved him.
Superflix says, I think the Planet of the Apes cycle was a precursor to the Terminator conundrum. Couldn't agree with you more. Yes, they definitely borrowed very, very heavily from that. But of course, if you really want to see where Terminator got its impetus, you have to go to Soldier and the other works of Harlan Ellison. I'll let you come to your own conclusion. Terrell Bellinger. Melrose Place was to Gen X. Oh, I'm sorry. Melrose Place was to Gen X, is to what Dallas and Dynasty did for rich people living scandalous lives.
Yeah, it was the soap opera kind of stuff of the 90s Gen Xers kind of growing up and watching what people did with like Dallas and Dynasty for sure.
Mm-hmm. Superflex says, do you like the Fast and the Furious movies?
Yeah, I mean, car movies. So I'm not really a sports guy. I'm not really a car guy. So it's one of those things they kind of hang together. And like, if you notice that, and nothing wrong with people who are like that at all. It's just that this is not normally me. I normally am introspective, thinking about philosophy and things like that. So sports movies and car movies and stuff kind of, they escape me. I mean, when I watch one of them, I saw the first one, thought it was really good. I saw Tokyo Drift. I like that one even. Maybe I wouldn't have liked Tokyo Drift if I had been a big fan. But the fact that I wasn't a big fan, maybe I could see it kind of independently because I know a lot of people didn't like it. And then I saw not the last one, but the one before that, where I can't remember, something about up in a plane and all that stuff. I don't know.
They blend like the Frankenstein movies do. I haven't seen all of them, but the ones I have, I can admit, I enjoy. They're not just car chase movies. They have that, either it's a heist angle or the buddy angle, or there's a lot going on there. And I think it just comes together. So I must confess, all the Fast and Furious movies I've seen, I've enjoyed. Oh, and Zooplix says, was Austin Powers 3 the death knell of the series?
Well, look, man. I mean, that whole series is just goofball pleasure. I mean, I don't know if you could really. That's like saying Naked Gun 33 and a half was yeah. I mean, they're all. I thought, as a matter of fact, Austin Powers 3 has one of my favorite scenes in it, and that's the one where Tom Cruise is playing Austin Powers. So I thought that was great. And then they had all the people, all the stars playing Austin Powers. I thought that was hilarious. So I liked all of them personally, but I could be the odd man on that.
Yeah, I thought it was a little off the rails in the third one, but I must confess, I didn't hate it. I thought it had its moments. It was funny. Mr. 79 Man, Police Academy 6 was going to have Vince Neil 89.
Police Academy, I didn't know it was 6. That's interesting, though, because Police Academy 1 came out in what, 84, 85?
83, maybe, I think. I was still in high school, so it may have been 83.
So from 83 to 89, they had 6 of them? And he was supposed to be in the 6th?
That sounds a little tight.
It does sound
possible,
a little tight. Yeah, it's so totally possible. I could mess it up, but I thought it was 4, but I could totally be wrong. Thank you, Mr. 79 Man, for pointing that out. Really appreciate it. All right.
Okay, and Tracer Roth Myers says, I like Roseanne better than the Connors. Who didn't?
Yeah, Rosie. Yeah, me too. I totally did. I thought she got an unfair rap on that whole thing anyway. So, but I don't want to get too political. But I mean, the Roseanne was awesome. I loved Roseanne. One of my all-time favorite shows. Love those sarcastic shows.
Dan! Life and Sad Ending. Opinions. The new WKRP in Cincinnati.
Not even seen the new WKRP in Cincinnati. I've not even seen it, so
Full
I couldn't.
disclosure, never have I.
Yeah.
Zuberblack says, does anyone remember Apple's Way, a spin-off of sorts of the Waltons?
No, and as a matter of fact, when it was Waltons versus Little House on the Prairie, I was on Little House on the Prairie side, not the Walton side.
Me too. Had a crush on Melissa Gilbert when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
John Collins. Perhaps an unpopular take. Mary Poppins Comes Back is not nearly as worthy or as good as Mary Poppins. In fact, Saving Mr. Banks was awesome and much better than Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen any of those other than Mary Poppins.
I saw Saving Mr. Banks, and I thought that was really good. That's a really good show. It's about Mary Poppins. It's got Tom Hanks in it, and it was actually really good.
Zuberblick says, did anyone enjoy the Charlie's Angels movie's treatment of the TV show?
A little bit of a guilty pleasure. I have to say that. Didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I mean, it was fun. It was one of those shows that were fun, but one of those shows that maybe you hate to admit that you liked it. The second one was trash, and then they did even a further reboot that didn't get any traction at all. And I have not even seen it. I think it had like Kristen Stewart in it or something like that.
I think the behind the scenes of what was going on with the making of the films was much more interesting than the movies themselves. Apparently there was a lot of drama on the set when those were being made. But I mean, I didn't hate the film, but it wasn't as interesting as the behind the scenes stuff. Oh, and Alfred O'Darty says Halloween 2? Really?
2.
Halloween 2 was the best of the series?
I'll have to take it.
I still like the first one best, although I got to tell you, well, I can't because there might be a handful of people, and then I crashed again. There might be a handful of people out there who haven't seen the second one, but I do love the surprise twist in the second one. Oh, and Zuberblick says, I agree. The horror films lose their juice with each successive generation of film. Thank you, Zuplex. And Terrell Barringer says, what are your thoughts on the quality of the American Nightmare on Elm Street franchise starting to go downhill after Dream Warriors? Well, I think going on the limb, you haven't seen those?
No, I have. That was one of the guilty. That was kind of before my experiences, and Dream Warriors was good, and then that was the third one, and then the fourth one I think I only saw once, but I just, again, it's one of those things that I got out of it probably around that time. I remember I liked the first two, and then I liked the Dream Warriors because it was Dawkins. And Dawkins played the theme in that. I don't know if you remember that. And then the fourth one was kind of, I don't know. They get a little cheesy.
Zuplex, a giant mechanical spider, which of course is a reference to the Wild Wild West. Life and Sad Ending, The Last Man on Earth, Vincent Price, with a lot of A+. You ever see that one?
No, I have not.
I did. It's excellent.
Oh, it is?
It's really good. It's probably the best adaptation of Richard Matheson's I Am Legend. Even though it did kind of go off the rails, it's probably the best adaptation. And James 328, hello James.
Hello James.
YouTube notifications isn't working for me. Join the club. Sequels are difficult to improve on if the first movie is good. Reboot series not interested in.
I get it.
Oh, Mr. 79 Man. Michael Winslow was the actor, and his character was Motormouth Jones on Police Academy movies. He was the kung fu dude that did the impersonation.
Oh yeah.
Impersonations. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. Do remember that. Let's see.
Superplex says, "What are your opinions on the John Wick films?"
Love the first one, and I have not seen 2 or 3, so I just haven't gotten around to it. I got so much I'm watching, and so much I got to watch and research I got to make, and I've heard they're great, and I want to watch them, and I'm going to watch them, but probably not anytime soon. I actually saw the Bill and Ted's Face the Music before I saw anything else from them. It's crazy. And then he said, yeah, that was, I got lost there. Sorry, I'm back.
Mr. 79 Man, everything okay over there, you guys? Well, I'm having like my catastrophic system failures, as you can see, but we'll endeavor to persevere. Life and Sad Ending is gone. Wow, we're kind of scrolling through here, aren't we?
Sorry.
Quite all right.
Sorry.
I'll take up speed reading. Life and Sad Ending. The last living cell in our dead body.
I think that's when I was out for a while.
John Jones, we are still here. That's the spirit, John.
Let's see. Talks amongst yourself. Please stand by. Let's see. I'll jump here.
Alfred O'Darty says, the original Planet of the Apes was the better of them, but I'm guessing that was did enjoy all of them. Couldn't agree with you more. The first one is the best. Terrell Bellinger, as I've mentioned before, the Cosby spin-offs A Different World originally focused on Denise Huxtable. But after Lisa Bonet left, it became a completely different show, similar to The Facts of Life.
Yes. I actually really enjoyed A Different World when it first came out, and I tried to go back and watch it again, and I just couldn't get into it. I could not get into it. I don't know why. I might do it again, but I do agree. You know, Lisa Bonet being on there, it was really about her. Then it shifted to that other girl, I forgot her name, but being the star, who was really kind of the antagonist in that
series.
Yeah.
Daryl Behringer, what are your thoughts on Disney Plus's upcoming Doogie? I'm not going to try to say that, MD, which is a reimagining of Doogie Howser, MD.
You know, it's one of those things. I did enjoy Doogie Howser, although I wasn't a faithful fan to it. I did enjoy watching Doogie Howser. And that's actually the first time people blogged. I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, because, you know, he gets on his computer and he types his thoughts in for the day. That was the first recorded instance of anybody blogging. I enjoyed it, but I mean, it's one of those things that could go either way. You know, I mean, it's one of the, I've said this before, but I really mean it. And it's like, just don't mess it up, man. I mean, people who are fans of the show know what they want, and I wish, and Disney's not known for listening to fans, although they did do a good job with WandaVision, I have to admit that. But I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. I'm not sure I would be interested in watching it because I wasn't a huge fan. Again, it was one of those shows that when it was on, I enjoyed watching it, but, you know, what do you do? All right.
Cindy D. Hello, guys. And Cindy D, so nice to see you, or see your icon at least, avatar.
Nice to see you too, Cindy. Thank you for joining us.
Alfred O'Darty, H2 was more sci-fi. Wait, do you mean H2 or H3?
Maybe. I don't know.
Halloween 3 was pretty sci-fi. I don't recall Halloween 2 being especially sci-fi. Of course, I haven't seen them for years, so my memory might be fading. Cindy D, what do you think about the new drama version upcoming of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Will Smith himself is on board.
I don't have too much of an opinion on that, Cindy. I was not a so like we just talked about with Doogie Howser. I felt the same way about Fresh Prince, but one step down. because even though I enjoyed Fresh Prince when it was on and I saw an episode, I hardly ever saw an episode. Where Doogie Howser came out in an era where mostly I was home for television, so I saw it more frequently and enjoyed it. Fresh Prince was out during an era where I was in my young adult life and I wasn't home for a lot to see it. And when it was on, I enjoyed it. So I really don't, but I wasn't like this huge diehard fan when it came to the show. So I did like I did like the album, the Fresh, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Yeah, I loved that first album. That was really cool. But I didn't get too much into the television show. How about you, Thrash?
I did watch the show. Didn't watch it faithfully. If it was on, I'm like, yeah, that could be funny. But like I say, it wasn't like part of my routine. So as far as a reboot goes, positive to take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Nothing against it if you're what you're looking for. Superflex, do you think they should do a sequel to The Warriors?
At this point, is it a sequel or is it a reboot?
It would be a
Like,
reimagining. I mean, they're all in nursing homes now. I mean, have you seen James Remar lately? He looks like my grandfather. They're all in very advanced years. I would love to see a reimagining, but it would have to be a reimagining at this point. Oh, and hello to you, Nicholas. Mamona says hello to everyone. Nice to see
hello, everyone.
Mr. 79 Man, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2 was pretty awful. I only liked the return of Dana Barron as Audrey.
Christmas Vacation 2?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember I remember National Lampoon's Vacation, National Lampoon's Europe Vacation, Christmas Vacation, and Vegas Vacation, but I don't remember Christmas Vacation 2.
It was one of the straight to video ones, and I never saw it. But
okay, all right. So
we lost Dana Barron, didn't she die of complications with diabetes a few years ago?
If she's the one who played Audrey in the second one, then yes, we did. If she was one who played Audrey in either of the other ones, then no. But if she played it in the second one, then yeah, I know that she did die of complications to diabetes.
R.I.P. Nicholas Mamonis, are you guys looking forward to the next Indiana Jones movie? I'm gonna be honest, I kind of tuned out.
No.
I loved them before they kind of went off the rails, and it would be tricky to get my heart going again. I'm not saying no, but
I thought Indiana Jones are let's see, Raiders of the Lost Ark classic, loved it. Temple of Doom, loved it even more. I'm one of those strange guys. I love that one even more. Thought it was great. The action in it was just non-stop action. Loved that show. 3 and 4 and 5, give me a break.
Cindy D, Christmas Vacation is a classic. Very funny.
Yeah. I loved Christmas Vacation.
You know who plays the son in Christmas Vacation?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, he's the guy from Big Bang Theory.
Yep.
He plays Leonard, whose name eludes me, but yeah, he plays Leonard. Nicholas Bermanis. Jasmine Guy took over on A Different World. Yes, she did. That was the name of the actress.
Yeah, and that was kind of interesting because she was kind of an antagonist almost to Lisa Bonet's character.
Cindy D. I'm assuming her name was Jasmine Guy as Whitney Gilbert. I named my daughter Jasmine after her. Oh, wow, that's very cool.
Cool. Right on.
Superflick. Opinions on the spinoff of The Big Bang Theory. Haven't seen it.
I didn't know there was a spinoff, quite honestly.
The Young Sheldon.
Oh, Young Sheldon. I saw a few episodes. It's okay. I don't really have too much of an opinion on it. I hate to say that because I'm supposed to have an opinion on it, but it's one of those shows that it was pretty funny. I just didn't ever really get into it. Of course, these days, right now, it's hard for me to get into like weekly shows. It
Yeah, me
just
too.
doesn't happen to me that much anymore. I just don't. I'm more watching either shows that stream and then I can watch them in a row, or I'm watching nostalgic shows, for various reasons, or catching up on shows that I used to watch, like The Mentalist and Bull and things like that.
Gerald Bellinger. Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 were the perfect examples of how to continue a story after the first film. Still an all time classic.
Well, we got some controversy here because Back to the Future 2, I loved. Back to the Future 3, I liked, but I believe our friend John Collins was not a fan. So I'll let you guys fight about that later.
Alfred O'Darty. You're right. Halloween 3, I meant. Yes, that's what I thought you meant. And to be honest, I'm one of the few people who I don't hate the third one. A lot of people don't even look at it as canon. They think it's 1, 2, and then it picks up with 4 and so on. But I think as an almost independent Halloween flick, I think it had some traction.
They
But it
do
was more
that.
sci-fi.
They did that with Jaws too. Like, I haven't seen it, but I've seen lots of shows on Jaws,
Mhm.
and apparently the third one is like a misnomer in the canon. It actually goes 1, 2, 4, and 3 is an odd one out, like almost like a one-off or an imagined.
Huh.
Yeah,
How about that?
interesting.
John Collins. I don't want the Night Court reboot either, out of respect for the previous actors and the excellence of the original.
It could go wrong. I get it. It could go wrong.
I hear
Eh,
wherever you speak.
but yeah. And this is interesting here. Go ahead.
Oh, Superplex. Was Frasier the best spinoff ever?
Let
It's,
me let me address this.
go for it.
I don't know if it was the best spinoff ever, but I really enjoyed Frasier. And as a matter of fact, it's so interesting to me because I got so into Frasier that I actually forgot. Like, I mean, I didn't forget like out of my mind, but it didn't occur to me because it so took on a life of its own that I had to be reminded that he was a character on Cheers. Because it had such a good run, and they made the story so good and so compelling that I was like, oh yeah, that's right. It was a spin-off of Cheers, and it was. So I think it is one of those perfect spin-offs. When you
It
can
is
have a
certainly the most
spin, go ahead.
It's certainly the most successful spinoff of all time. It probably ended up making more money than the Cheers franchise did. But it's so funny you mentioned that dynamic because that's exactly what I think that the best sequel of all time is Benson. And most
Oh,
people don't even remember that Benson was in fact a spinoff. That it actually came from Soap. He was the
right.
butler in Soap and got his own show. So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting dynamic that you mentioned.
I actually didn't know that Benson was a spinoff of Soap until later
Uh,
myself.
a
I
lot of
watched
people
Benson
didn't.
as its own independent show and had no idea that it was a spinoff. And so yeah, I mean it did a great job as well.
Terrell Bellinger, what are your thoughts on the recent passing of Night Court star Marky Post? One of her final TV appearances was on ABC's short lived The Kids Are All Right.
Yeah, super sad.
Mm.
Given the fact that her own life being so great, and her career, every part she played was perfect. Loved her in The Fall Guy. Loved her in Night Court. Loved her on Scrubs. A lot of people don't know she played in Scrubs. She played the blonde nurse's mom in Scrubs. Um, and the fact that we're going through something similar right now, it hits home more. Just like with earlier with Tracy Rothmeyer's talking about, being kind of set off the edge with with the death that it was something you see on TV, and so it's kind of hitting us right now where it
Mhm.
hurts because as everybody, I think everybody here knows, my wife is struggling with cancer right now, and we're at about the 3-year mark, and it's just sad. And so I feel for that family. I feel when you're connected in that way, it's just like, oh, okay, you kind of have an insight to what people go through, and it's sad. And the kids are all right. I didn't see her in that. I only saw a few episodes of that. The kids are all right. Didn't really get into it, although the main girl in that show, I really like her. She was in a few movies and a few television shows, and I really like her a lot. She was in Dickie Roberts' childhood star. Yes. Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that or not, but
I recall it. Yes, I do remember it.
yeah. And I'm a big Dave Spade fan, as everybody knows.
He's hilarious, yeah. Oh, Viva AJ.
Viva J.
Hello, Viva AJ. She was the original Audrey in Vacation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so if she was the original Audrey, then she did not die of
okay. Then I was thinking of this. It must have been the one from the second one, European Vacation. That's the one I was thinking.
What was interesting about that is Anthony Michael Hall was supposed to be in the second one, and he got a job with John Hughes, and he didn't want to show up for that second one, so they cast Jason Lively, and because they cast a new boy, they decided to cast a new girl and kind of make it a joke. An ongoing joke. Yes, they did, because the girl who played Audrey was willing to come back and wanted to come back from the second one, but because they couldn't get Anthony Michael Hall back, they thought, well, we'll get two different actors, a new actor for the boy and a new actor for the girl.
Huh. Must have been very disappointing for her.
Yes.
Superflex. So sad to hear of Marky Post's passing. It sure is.
Indeed.
Tola Bellinger. What do you think was the real reason Crispin Glover chose not to reprise his role as George McFly in the Back to the Future sequels? You go first.
Well, you ask an interesting question. You ask some very interesting questions, Tyrell. I think it's a combination. I don't think anything's ever one side or the other, especially when it comes to stuff like this. So Crispin basically says that he was upset because, Marty McFly's payoff was that he was rich, and he thought the show kind of wasn't good or whatever. Anyway, he kind of had this high-minded idea, and they said, well, the movie company said it was because he wasn't getting paid what Michael J. Fox was getting paid, and that's why he quit. And I think it could be a combination of both. I don't think it's one or the other, but I've listened to him talk about it, and I've listened to the response about it, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I heard it's very simple. He had been there, done that. I've already played Marty McFly. Why would I want to play the same character again? So I think he didn't really want to. And when he tried to jockey that into more money, they said, nah, go. So, I think he would have done it if they had increased his recompense, as it were. But put together, he didn't really want to do it, and they weren't really going to go out on a limb to keep him. Put the two together, and he walked. And we'll just have Michael J. Fox play two characters, and that's.
Oh no! I think you're thinking of the second one, because Crispin Glover was supposed to be in the second one.
Yes.
And they actually changed the laws because of his lawsuit. Because if you notice, they make him old and they put him upside down, and they used, even though it wasn't him as an actor, they used his likeness. And he sued them for that. And he said that he didn't want to be involved with it because he thought it was shallow, that when Marty McFly comes back to the future or back to the present, that he's rewarded with material goods, and he should have been rewarded with something more, I don't know, whatever. And so they let him go. The movie company says, well, he wanted more money. And we said, I'm sorry, you're not the star of the show. And Crispin Glover's he's one of those very interesting actors. I mean, it's just one of those very, very into his craft.
Yes.
He wasn't the star that he actually should have been, because he is a super good, intelligent actor. But they let him go because he asked for too much money. And then he said, "Well, I don't think that the character should get his reward in material goods," and so they parted company. And then he sued them because they used his likeness, even though they put a prosthetic on the actor to make him look like Crispin Glover, and then hung him upside down. Because if you notice, he comes in on the second one and he's on this inverted table, and they did that on purpose so that you wouldn't know that it was not Crispin Glover. In that, yeah, very interesting.
I didn't know about the lawsuit. That's interesting. I didn't know about that lawsuit.
Well, that changed Hollywood forever, because now you can't use a likeness. You can't make one character try to look like another person, likeness, without their permission anyway.
And with Ross Myers, Grease 2 stunk.
All right, everyone. Hey, there's a lot more here, and I really appreciate everyone, but we're going on with an hour and a half of this. I am going to have to call it quits for today. I thank you so much, everyone, for this. Before everyone starts jumping off, though, before you all start jumping off, please like this, share this on your favorite social media. Do me a favor, take one of my videos, just one of the videos, maybe one of the shorter ones that are only like 5 or 10 minutes long, and before you're done turning off your computer and turning off YouTube, share one of those on your favorite social media. The other thing you can do is you can go to Thrashpondo Pons' page, and you can subscribe to him as well. We're going to be looking forward to more stuff coming out from Thrashpondo Pons as well. And the other thing that's happening is Thrashpondo Pons and I have decided that our next book versus movie is going to be Lord of the Flies. So that is going to do it for tonight. So Lord of the Flies, and then head on over to Patreon, please, if you're willing to, and you want to do the tip jar, or you want to do the Cornflake Club. And again, soon is going to come the Honeycomb Hideout, where at the Honeycomb Hideout you are going to get exclusive material that won't be available anywhere else, not just early material, but won't be available anywhere else. I'm so sorry, folks, I didn't get to go through all of your questions here. We will have to do this again. You guys are so great, because I like, look, a lot of people, like when I go on Dave's program and stuff, it's like, hundreds of people are watching, and then thousands of people are watching. But I got to be honest with you, you guys make this so interesting. You're so interactive, and I cannot thank you enough for being so interactive and just greasing the conversation and pushing it forward. It would not be what it is without you guys watching. So from the bottom of my heart, I love you all, and I really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone. And Thrashpondo, you mean the world to me, brother. Seriously, thank you so much.
And you guys are great. Thank you very much, everyone out there.
And
for putting up with my failures, my system failures.
Yes, and mine too. Sorry about the dropping out there for a minute. All right, take care. And yes, take care.
Peace.